So as you begin to think about whether you have been there or are thinking about going into simplified accountable leadership, I wanted to offer you some maybe a word of caution. Absolutely all churches could and should be practicing accountable leadership model. All churches, regardless of how you're structured. Some churches will want to do simplified structure and accountable leadership. Some. That makes sense for some. But no church should be doing simplified structure without accountable leadership. That's just too dangerous. Now, if you are considering going to this simplified accountable leadership structure, first of all, the Book of Discipline requires that you write a letter to your district superintendent about the intent of moving into that model. And you need to state the missional reason for doing so. The missional reason, folks, is to align your church with the mission of the United Methodist Church to make disciples. All right? Your district superintendent must approve your simplified structure. The next step is need to make sure that all of your key leaders have been trained on the simplified structure with accountable leadership. Please, 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 I beg you, do not go to this model unless all or at least a significant number of your leaders who are going to be practicing it are trained. The problem is if we don't train folks, we put them in a new model and we haven't given them anything else than to practice what they've already practiced in the old model. So you'll get the technical pieces, but you won't get the adaptive pieces. All right? Step 3 is to communicate, and then when you think you've communicated, communicate some more. Please talk about not just what you're going to do, but why you want to do it. They first have to capture the why before they'll go along with the shift of the what. See, that's the problem is sometimes we start with the what and we never talk about the why. We have to let them know in order to do this, the reason we're doing this is to be more in alignment, more streamlined, more a mean, lean, disciple-making machine. That's why we want to do this. It's not about, well, we can't get enough people to lead, so we're going to do this. That might be the end result or a benefit, but that cannot be your why. You will need an annual charge conference or church conference to move into your new structure. Okay? The normal rhythm is January through December, so ideally that's when you would do it. Not that some of you haven't or wouldn't do it midterm. But that's the best rhythm is to do it, charge conference in the fall, so that they start in January. If you move to this model, one of the things you need to understand is everyone in administrative positions, all 4 of those teams, vacate their positions. They're done. So you have to vote all of them out when you are putting the new structure together. So just because you're on trustees currently does not mean you'll be on trustees in the new structure. Some of the trustees may need to go to the building maintenance team. Some need to roll off, right? So each one of you received not only the PowerPoint handout, but there is a separate piece of paper that was under your presentation, and that is frequently asked questions. So be sure you take that with you as well, because those are many times when you get to the board and discussing this, those are the questions that come up. So be sure to take that with you. Then, after you've done all of those steps, then you move into the structure. Right? Sometimes we've done step 5 without perhaps doing steps 1 through 4. Ideally, you would want to move to the new structure, having already been trained, having already started your leadership covenant, begin to think about guiding principles. And the best case scenario is for you to have somebody walk alongside you who is experienced and simplified, accountable structure. So for instance, when I was still doing coaching in individual churches, I would sit with those groups. I'd let them practice 2 or 3 months, and then I'd go back and sit through their board meetings and just say, just leave me about 15 minutes at the end. I'm just going to be a fly on the wall in the meantime. And then at the end, say, here is where we ventured off into our management. Did you all realize that? Here's where, had we had a guiding principle, we wouldn't have spent those 20 minutes, right? So someone who isn't in the game that can kind of set at the parameters and help guide you in that first year to give you a good start. Because sometimes if we don't have that person that can help guide you, then all we do is practice what we've practiced in the old model in the new model, and we get ourselves into some trouble. Does that make sense? And please know that we're putting a network of people to also help, but feel free to call the Office of Congregational Development is where I'm out of, if I can be helpful. Please know there's 860 some of you, and there's one of me, but I'll do the best that I can. And like I said, we're building a team to help, but we want to be a resource to you and to be helpful as we can.